Okay, so we're going to be really focusing on action, hearing about the actions that parish and town councils are taking. Very, very brief mini presentations, just sort of listing things that people have been doing, and then talk together about what's going well for yourselves in terms of the climate action that you're taking in your own parish and town councils, what would help for us all to work together better and to do more. And we feel that there are no right answers here, no wrong answers. It's all about fitting it together, working together, and collaboration is so important. And we need to work on our skills of collaboration, which is very much part of being a human being, because we are good at collaboration, and now we can use those skills to move forward the climate action agenda. Is that okay with everybody? And I will ask Lynn to open by giving us a brief rundown on what's been happening in Church Stretton.
Hello everybody. We moved to Church Stretton in 2009, found that Stretton Climate Care were already very active. They advised us and many other residents on how to improve our houses and insulate ourselves and all the rest of it. I joined the council in 2019. I've been busy with different charities before that. And first of all, put through the climate emergency motion. And that was really just a formal acknowledgement of what the council had been doing for a long time in terms of improving their own insulation and so forth, and planning the lighting, how we were going to do part night lighting, replace lights with low energy ones in the street lights. But also there's a tremendous amount of community activity, both through the energy reduction programs and advice, but also in the environmental activity. It's obviously an AONB, very keen in terms of tree planting, wetlands, to rebuild the wetlands so that they do absorb water in high rainfall times to let it get out slowly afterwards. And really we're still trying to just, as a council, just simply to help and facilitate that community involvement and collaboration across the whole community. So it's just a permanent thing. And the latest idea, which I've been advised from a colleague in Bishop's Castle, was to simply write and give our support for the climate and environmental emergency bill that's going through Parliament, so that we are active promoting what we believe to be such an important community response to the emergency, and just trying to keep everybody talking to everybody else and working forward. So I think I managed to get it done in my 2 minutes.
Well done, thank you very much, Lynn. And it's really interesting to hear how Church Stretton are kind of going ahead on many fronts at once. And the parish council is lucky to have an active community and the history really of Stretton Climate Care.
The many fronts, I think, is absolutely essential. I came into it thinking, all right, energy saving buildings, and realized just how many other things are part of the problem and part of the solution. So that's key.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Church Stretton is unique, as all our communities are. So not everybody can kind of follow all of those leads, but it's just everything that we do, whatever we're able to do. So hearing from Debbie Marais about Ponsbury and what you've been up to there.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. I mean, not welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm the clerk for Pontesbury Parish Council, but I have a background in environmental science. I've always had an interest in that. We, as a parish council, there was a declaration of acknowledgement of the climate crisis in 2020, and as part of that, we set up an action group. I think the most important thing is that we're very aware that initially it was quite slow to take off, and I think people just feel overwhelmed. So I think what we made two sort of decisions really. One was to sort of hook people at where they were at and what they were interested in. And the other is to come back, constantly come up with very simple actions that people can take so that you sort of build on that. And it's certainly gathering momentum. It seems to naturally, in terms of people's interest, fallen into sort of three subgroups. There's a very active cycling group that are looking at active transport and perhaps a long-term safe routes to school, and trying to get the cycle route that runs currently from Minsterley to Pontesbury to right through to Shrewsbury. So they're quite active on that. There's a carbon watchers group who have joined with SCAP to pilot. So we've looked at different carbon footprinting tools. We've picked one for our pilot group. We're going to trial that, and then we're going to try and encourage other groups in the parish to take part. We felt it was important to pilot it first, and again, it's that thing of not overwhelming people. We're trying to give really practical tips on themes, perhaps through the newsletter on a monthly basis. Yeah, so just, it sort of feels baby steps, but I'm pretty sure those baby steps will build to bigger steps once people feel confident and feel that there's something they can do that and it aren't overwhelmed. And I like the Carbon Watchers project is such a good one because there's no finger wagging, there's no pointing and undermining. It's about a group coming together to support each other through that journey and to share ideas. It might be recipes one week, it might be, looking at energy use another week, but it's very supportive, and I keep coming back to that, but I think that's really important. And then the other group is interested in biodiversity, so they've started to do a lot of planting, and that we're trying to use the things we do. We're trying to put signs up to say where we've been, so there's a very visual presence, which again is people are just sort of gradually getting the idea that things are happening around the village, but we're also using it to work in partnership. So the Shropshire Council had trees for offer, so we've taken that pack of trees, we've worked with the nursery and planted a hedge. So it's also gathering momentum in terms of bringing partnership groups in. So those are the three main strands at the moment. The next thing is to come up with an action plan and keep building that momentum. But I think, well, I suppose we'll touch on that about things that help and things that don't help. But I feel very passionately that if we can get every parish council in this country involved in some way, even if it's just on an education and awareness raising, it really frustrates me that a lot of organisations aren't seeing the potential really that exists by, that stretches across vast numbers of people. And like I say, even if it's just awareness raising, but hopefully action as well. We go.
Brilliant, thank you. I think it's what comes over to me very strongly there is starting from where people are at, and taking simple actions, and and it builds outwards. I really like also the carbon watchers that Lorraine touched on, because we're our sort of finger wagged at and told how we should be as individuals, we should be doing this or that or whatever. But what Carbon Watchers does is help people do it together and hopefully make it a fun thing and not a finger wagging exercise, and we can really again support each other, which makes such a difference. Thank you. To another unique community, Mike Watkins, Bishop's Castle, which has its absolutely own way of doing things.
Hi there. Yes, the climate action plan, which was a climate emergency, which was declared by the town council in 2020, led us to write a climate action plan, which was again adopted by the town council last year. And from that, we've started a range of climate action plan initiatives. The first biggest one at the moment is Going Wild in BC, as we've called it, which is trying to encourage greening in many aspects of our town, in effect aiming to create an urban stepping stone here below the AOMB hills. And various other things like the electric vehicle charging points. It seems quite absurd that in this day and age we're not planning to put electric vehicle charging points in public car parks or in the new business park that's being built in Bishop's Castle, but hopefully we're turning Shropshire Council's view on the necessity for that around. We've also had the Town Council adopt a local food resilience strategy document with quite a lot of actions in it, which we'll be pursuing. Small things like reopening an old community college garden to produce vegetables for the school kitchen. The school's kitchen provides meals for, I think, three schools altogether. So the more fresh vegetables we can produce for them, the more they can use. Tree planting again, which has been frustrated by the lack of landowners willing to let us plant trees. Trees are becoming, as most of us know, more available through various schemes, but it's getting the land that's the main problem. We recently got, as our colleague in Church Stretton mentioned, the Town Council to adopt a motion to support the Climate and Ecological Emergency Bill. We've also started a seed saving initiative. We're hoping to work with the March's Energy Agency on some renewable energy schemes for social housing in Bishop's Castle. And the thing that's taken a lot of my time recently and colleagues is trying to convince our Town Council and our consultants drawing up our neighbourhood plan that it should consider mitigation actions for the climate emergency measures. Initially, they didn't think it was appropriate, that neighbourhood plans were simply about planning. However, we soon convinced them with documents from august organisations like the Royal Town Planning Institute that that was completely wrong, and we've now been given a very short time period in which to try to suggest changes that should be entered into the neighbourhood plan. And these, of course, have all got to be referenceable, not just ideas plucked from the thin air of our imagination. So that's been quite a challenge. Hopefully we're getting closer to that. And I think the one thing that I would like to see, and I was hoping would come out of SCAP, would be a means by which all of these different initiatives that are being managed by our communities in South Shropshire could find a central hub at which, as we come to a problem, we could go and see what other communities have been doing and learn from them. For instance, we knew nothing about neighbourhood plans, and it took me quite a while looking around to try to find out how we approach neighbourhood plans with a view to climate emergency. So that's just one example. That some of the other good schemes that our colleagues have been talking about, if they were captured on some central blog or database somewhere where we could all go and look and adopt or learn from these ideas, I think that would help us both to link us together, but also to help us overcome and work together rather than in our own little silos. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. That you might get that job of assembling all the actions, but we will definitely come on to that, what will help. Robin, you want to come in?
Yes, good. I was going to say, oh, yes, still is good morning, everybody. I just wanted to point out, I don't know whether there's been a sort of speaker's order being sorted here, but there are 3 people here representing Ludlow Town Council, and I don't know whether we've been picked up as being a group to speak. But there's myself, Philip Adams, who is in the centre there. We're both town councillors, and our deputy town clerk is here. So at some point, we obviously like to make contribution?
Absolutely, you will be. The floor will be yours. Yes, I just picked on. We just picked on 3 groups, 3 parish and town councils who we knew would be coming. It's a little bit of arm twisting, possibly, to just open up the discussion, really. So, Bernard.
Sorry, I've just got something to add on to Mike's. I'm also from Bishop's Castle, but we, the group, is not a town council that we're representing. We are representing Bishop's Castle Community Partnership, which was set up 2016 to do the town plan, which was the community-led plan. There were 6 themes under that thing, one of which is sustainability. And it's a sustainability group that Mike and I are involved with that have persuaded the climate action plan to happen with the town council, and we wrote the climate action plan to be done for the town council. Obviously they adopted it and we work very, very closely together, but it's another approach of community involvement. We work very, very closely together with the town council, but we can do things differently to town councils. Different funding streams are available, things like that.
That's a particularly interesting, sort of unique point about Bishop's Castle is that partnership, and it's a separate constituted group, as you say, so you can do quite different things. David and Lynn. David first.
Yeah, could I just say that in Church Stretton, I'm chair of Stretton Climate Care, but I'm also chair of the steering group for the community-led plan. And as part of the community-led plan, there is an environmental report as part of that, and that will lead to proposals and actions which will feed into whatever the town council itself are actually doing, which Lynn has already been working hard on in terms of what they can do themselves, but the community-led plan gives another dimension to what will be happening in the Strattons.
And it is a very important part of what parish and town councils can do or can support happening. Lynn, you wanted to?
I was just going to say that I worked with David on the sustainability aspect of the community-led plan before becoming a councillor, and we are waiting for the response.
Works together.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Okay. John.
Good morning, everybody. Still morning. I'm from Cleveland Mortimer Town Council. So this was sort of a last-minute request that I joined today. We've been sort of quietly in the background looking at our carbon footprint. So we're well underway with converting most of our street lights to LEDs. I think we've only got a handful left. We're just about to install solar lighting in our town park, but also we're in the same boat as Bishop's Castle and Church Stretton with a neighbourhood plan. One thing that we nearly fell foul of was not having the strategic environmental assessments done, which our consultant, which may well be the same consultant you've been using, had left it very, very late, and we were due to go to referendum in a couple of months, but we actually had to take a step backwards and going through Regulation 14 consultation again. But our plan does contain an awful lot of climate change initiatives, one of which is ensuring that all the new houses are heated by heat pumps. Also, every house must have a car charger, and we're also pushing for every house to have solar panels and energy storage. The chances are that our friends at Shire Hall will kick some of those out and say it's not possible. And I think that as town, we're all involved in town and parish councils here. We need to hold our county councillors to account to make sure that these initiatives are pushed forward. Because my other concern, which is on the backside of this, is fuel poverty. Now we are in an area in Clibberry Mortimer where we're not on the gas grid, so people are either heating their homes with oil or with LPG. I also work in the energy sector. I work for a government funded organisation. I know that in the short term, and when I say short term, 5 years, VAT on oil will go up to 20%, followed by LPG. So those people who are currently heating their homes with oil and LPG are going to have a 14.2% increase in their energy bills. It's likely this is going to come in, say, in the next 5 years. So we need to also support our communities in upgrading their houses to low carbon heating through such things as the Green Homes Grant. And I'll keep this very short, actually, but on Thursday of this week, on the 27th at 3:15, there's a parliamentary review which Philip Dunn will be chairing as chair of the Environmental Audit Committee, and they are going to be debating the future of the Green Homes Grant voucher scheme. And I think it'd be really good if several of you do join that. That's about all I really wanted to say.
Great. What I wanted to do, actually, I will come to you in a second, Robin, is for us to talk about what's going really well, and also to have an opportunity to talk about what would help. So one or two people already said sharing information, having a record of what everybody is doing, it would really help support your actions in the future. But I'm conscious that, as Robin has reminded us, there are several colleagues from Ludlow, and it would be good to quickly hear from, what's going well in Ludlow in terms of your actions on climate action.
Okay, could I just say what I should have said when I interjected earlier was that we are not officially, we are here, Philip and I, as individuals who are members of Ludlow 21 Sustainable Transport Group, and we do not purport to be representing Ludlow Town Council at this point. We are here as individuals, but we are happy to share with you the things which Ludlow Town Council is doing and is hoping to do. So I think I've made all these early starts, so it'd be nice perhaps if Philip could have a word at this point.
Thank you, Robin. You mentioned Ludlow 21. We're a bit like, I guess, other towns in that we had a bit of a flying start. Ludlow 21 covers several aspects of getting us to net zero, but Ludlow 21 had no connection at all with the town council. We've got 15 town councillors, of whom 3 or 4 active in sustainable transport. One other person is taking a bit of an official lead on the council on general climate change and driving that forward. We're probably a little bit behind others on community plan, I would assess. So that's an area to work. But certainly we've been strong on certain aspects, particularly sustainable transport. And although we've been strong on that, we've been strong on a very small percentage of what needs to be done. And I think I should now defer to our Deputy Town Clerk.
Thanks, Philip. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I've got some strange microphone and earphone thing combination going on. So I've only been at the Town Council for a couple of years, and I believe previously we have had a very active climate action working group. Robin might know more about that. I think that's something we need to get up and going again. There's a lot happening in Ludlow, but unfortunately not much of it seems to be via the Town Council, as Philip says. There's a lot happening, but the Town Council needs, I think, a plan of its own, a climate action plan similar to others have had. And perhaps, as Debbie mentioned, we're perhaps in the same boat in that we're a bit slow for it all to take off through the Town Council itself. They have declared an emergency, the climate emergency, but it's seeing action following that, I think. There's a lot happening with the Sustainable Transport Group, LED lighting via Shropshire Council, looking at electric vehicle points, but again, they're through Shropshire Council because they've got the on-street parking and the majority of the car parks. so it's trickling through, but not fast enough, and probably not enough action being seen as an action plan from the town council itself.
Thank you.
Okay, can I just put a bit more in there, because I think Kate rather undersold things from the council's point of view, and I think that credit needs to be handed out. We are one of the 6 towns in Shropshire which have petitioned the unitary council about 20's plenty on all our residential streets. We have passed that recommendation in council, and we have reiterated it with the unitary council. Sadly, at the moment, it's falling on deaf ears, but we will continue pressing for that. We are just about to have several EV charging points put in under the Agile Street Scheme, and we'll soon hopefully be beginning negotiations with the Energy Saving Trust to put more on-street parking on-street EVs. We have an initiative just started trialling a cargo bike, delivering food and other things around the town. You may have seen it in the Shropshire Star, to try and reduce the number of white vans and very large lorries that come into our historic centre. We have a project on the council project list to make all of our vehicles that the council operates electric within a reasonable period of time. So there is a lot going on, but as Kate says, we are starting everything, and we're hoping to expand rapidly into being an environmentally friendly town.
Thank you very much. We think our session still ends at 12. Is that right? Have we not been extended a little bit, because 12 is coming up rather fast?
I think it was 12:15. He said.
I think we've been extended to 12:15. Good.
Yeah, I believe we.
That gives us an opportunity.
Got a bit more
yeah, we've got a little bit more. Thanks, Harry. Okay, I think it'd be really good, because people have been talking about, you know, everything you're doing, and you know, and starting to touch on, well, what would help us to do more? And already there are some interesting areas like neighborhood plans and community plans, where people can kind of learn from each other what's possible and where you can exert some influence, perhaps, and perhaps join together. But I wonder if we could look at, well, I think we've shared really a lot of, yeah, can everybody see that whiteboard?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. I thought it'd be nice just to list some of the things that people feel would help to collaborate more, or to do more, or, you know, what would help to move things forward. Hopefully hearing from each other has helped a bit, but is there anything that strikes you that would really help to support the work that you're doing and to take things a bit further?
Key thing, I think, is a central pool of information. I mean, I would like to know where Robin comes from, because I want to know some of the things that he's doing about on-street car charging. We need that sort of service, somehow to pool that information.
It's something that we have talked about quite a bit, actually, in the communication subgroup of South Shropshire Climate Action. Quite how that works, but we don't have time to talk about a lot of detail here, but how might that work? How would it help? Philip?
I think we've got to convince Mr. Nellens that South Shropshire exists. And I'll give an example of what's gone on in the past, and it shouldn't go on in the future. For us to have bus shelters in Ludlow Town Council paid, whereas 75% of it should have been paid by Shropshire Council. They didn't want to know. That's on a very simple thing.
So I'm putting that as to raise the profile of South Shropshire. We exist.
I'm not sure it's just South Shropshire, actually, Helen. I think it's It's working far more in partnership with the parish and town councils, I think.
Mm.
Could I make a suggestion that it might be useful for all the councils to, or representatives of, to come up with a combined plan about new housing, so that everybody in return, when they're discussing planning applications, were making the same suggestions to the unitary council about things that have been mentioned today, like solar panels, insulation, etc., etc. If we all speak with the same voice, we're far more likely to get something agreed.
I would agree with that 100%. I think that if we had a common voice from the whole of South Shropshire, saying to Shropshire Council, this is what we need to be happening now, and it needs to happen now. We need to impress on Shropshire Council there's some sense of urgency about doing this.
So there's quite a bit about pressurising or campaigning Shropshire Council. I was hearing earlier about the actions that you're taking on neighbourhood plans and community plans, where you feel the need for campaigning is particularly, or pressure is particularly important. So is there something particularly about community and neighbourhood plans?
Yeah, I think there is.
Point that Robin made about trying to work to common standards, for instance, when we're putting
Common standards, yeah.
new builds. If we all spoke and asked for the same standards to be applied, I think that would be beneficial.
I don't know if it's just me, Mike, but your voice is sounding a bit fuzzy. But I'm getting common standards, yeah. Okay.
Could I suggest probably the neighbourhood plan groups here are the same as we are in Clibberry Mortimer. It's actually, it is community led. Although I'm a town councillor, I sit on the steering group as a resident, but we have a chair. Maybe there's an opportunity for the chairs of each neighbourhood plan group to have a seminar together to talk about best practice. We're quite lucky that we've got a number of people who are involved with the energy sector and climate change. So we it's very easy for us to put best practice into our neighbourhood plan. But for everybody to have access to that pool of information will be absolutely brilliant. And as you say, a common voice to Shire Hall. Let me just give you one very, very quick example. We're doing some really good things in Clibberry Mortimer. However, our senior school, Lake and Child School, has recently upgraded its heating system and has put in an LPG heating system and no solar panels, which is absolutely shocking. But that was not our decision as a town council. We were overridden by Shropshire Council.
Yeah, because yes, in different communities there are different types and levels of expertise, aren't there? Which could be very usefully shared. Okay.
Got a couple, Helen.
Sorry.
I've got a couple of comments. All right to go.
Yeah, I can't see who's talking because of the...
It's Bernard.
Bernard, hello Bernard.
That's why you've been ignoring me.
Yes, limitations of technology, I can't see you. Okay,
it was the thing on climate action plans. We have all got various bits and development and moved it to various stages. And there is somebody pointed out on page 151 of the South Shropshire Climate Action Plan is what community councils can do. I was going to suggest that a meet-up of us would also fit in with the neighbourhood planning side of things as well. A meeting up of, we've got 6 councils here, or 6 areas, parishes represented. That's a good beginning to use that and use that information to share. Just a meeting up. But the other thing is now we have become 12 months on since our first action plan, and we must always build in the review of what's happening and to build what is happening next. And the third and last point was, and again, it might be when we have an opportunity meeting up, is how do councils in future influence, I think that's the right word, influence the Unitary Authority and our MP. That was it, just comments.
I think similar themes are coming through here, aren't there? An opportunity to share experience and expertise, to, as you say, influence or pressurize Shropshire Council in similar ways. Yeah, carry on. Lynn.
We do have a small group. Look, it started from this group who meet to decide what to put to Philip Dunn. It would be very good if we could coordinate our interests and activities on that. So that follows up what you were saying.
That's very useful. Yeah, it's a very good point. Because parish and town councils are in a good position to campaign, to influence. But if you were speaking more with one voice or with similar voices, it would have more of an impact on the Shropshire Council or the MP. Yeah.
It would also, Philip is obviously quite agitated that there seem to be a lot of people all saying slightly different things to him. It would be very good if we could pool and set our priorities as to what we want him to address for us.
I think I'm reaching the limits of the technology with this whiteboard.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether I can move down or whether I have to open a new whiteboard. Okay, what I will do is save it and stop sharing. Okay, right, Matthew.
Yes, hello. Yeah, I'm on the town council in Clun. And we've done some of the measures that other councillors have talked about, but no one's mentioned the district councillors and their role in applying pressure upwards to the Unitary Authority and in linking with the MP. We've not had a good track record of getting positivity from our elected district council. I'm just wondering if other town councils.
Hang on, we don't have any district councils anymore.
Sorry, am I using the wrong term? I'm talking about the next layer up.
Next layer, your councillor who's on Shropshire Council,
yes,
as opposed to the parish or town council. Gotcha. Yeah.
They turn up to some of the town council meetings or not, and issue reports and knock on doors and shake hands when they want to be elected. But they should be part of the scheme of communicating through channels to the Unitary Authority. And they've not had a mention at all. I just wonder if anybody has any positive experiences or ideas how we can best use them.
I think we have a local councillor here who's the same party as yours, one in Clun, and she has been excellent. She sits on the partnership. She feeds back. She's been linking me into members in the council for when we're trying to influence the design of the industrial estate that's going to be built here, for particularly the landscaping areas and things like that. So we've had a good experience of our local councillor.
We have
I would say ours is very good as well in working with Shelf. But I think you're right though, Matthew, is do we use them creatively? do we actually use them as channels of communication and pressure? Yeah, John.
Yeah, I think we should. We now have two unitary councillors who are of the same party. But one thing that has changed in the last election that we need to bear in mind is that there has been a step change. The Shropshire Council is one of the few in the country where the Conservatives actually lost seats. So on that basis, we hope that there could be a change. I've been a Conservative all my life, by the way, but you know, I do feel that putting pressure on our unitary councillors at town council or parish council meetings is absolutely critical, because ultimately they were voted for by the communities that we work in.
So parish and town councils are important centres of action, and we've heard about different ways that can happen, but also really good, really important channels of you know, changing action at Shropshire Council level. Philip.
Could I ask others whether on their councils they actually have unitary councillors? From next week on Ludlow Council, we will have 2 unitary councillors. How that will work out with the environment will be very interesting, but I wondered if others had have similar experiences.
Yeah, our unitary councillor is also a town councillor.
Yeah.
That was the situation that we had. Quite what the new one will be, we'll find out when we start having our meetings.
Sorry, did you say that your unitary councillor is also a town councillor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Because ours aren't, and we prohibit them from some parts of our meetings. I'm not saying we talk about them, but you know, we have certain things that we talk about at local level. But no, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing.
Experience will vary, I expect.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one, that.
I think that it depends entirely upon the councillor who you're considering. Yeah, but in Ludlow we do have 2 unitary councillors, and one of them has sat on the council for many years. The second one is very recent, i.e. sort of 2 weeks ago.
I think I know the one you're talking about, who's been with you for many years.
Yeah. Well, we've just had our 5-minute notice, so we're going to get chucked out fairly soon. I just wonder if this, from our discussion, it's very brief, but we've been able to share some information. People have learned a bit from each other. Is there anything that you would want to take forward from this session, or you know, that has made you think, yes, that's something I want to do? Anything
we should meet again. We should meet again and do
meet again.
Meet on a regular basis and just share, like say, good practice and not so good things that we're experiencing, particularly on neighbourhood plans as well.
Yeah, I say this session actually came about because a councillor, one of my local parish councillors from Worthing with Shell, said it would be really good to get together and find out what other parish and town councils are doing, but they haven't actually sent anyone to the conference. There we are. He happened to be away. Robin.
Yes, I mean, I don't know about the sort of logistics of this process, but I think it might be an idea if we could take back to our councils, possibly as an agenda item, that a group linking all the councils together was formed, so that we have a discussion forum that represents our views in South Shropshire, because I think this is what this conference is all about. And if we can all hear what everybody else is saying, and we have common views and common goals, we're far more likely to make some progress than do it piecemeal.
Do you think that should be, there are I think 105 or something like that parish and town councils in South Shropshire, which is a lot, all of them, or those who are, you know, have climate action plans or are taking some action on climate?
Well, I guess it should be open to all.
Yeah.
You know, it must be inclusive. It's whether they choose to join. But obviously, the larger councils will have more planning applications, for example, and therefore will have more when they wish to make representation. But I think it's something that could be looked at.
And yeah, good idea. Any thoughts about who might host it? You do have an association of local councils, don't you? A Shropshire-wide one.
Yeah.
Debbie's got her hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking with Zoom, it makes things a lot easier to have larger numbers, but also if you themed it, so you had one on planning, one on climate change, one on, you know, neighbourhood plan,
Yeah.
People will self-select anyway, won't they? So.
Isn't there a climate festival or something in Ludlow soon?
Green Festival.
Green Festival, that was it.
And there's one in Church Stretton, isn't there? That's a Stretton Climate Care thing in October, I believe.
October, Low Carbon Day.
Low Carbon Day, excellent.
Maybe those are
another inspirational thought for those who haven't yet got one. And there's something happening in Clun, I know, in September.
Even knowing about all those different events would be useful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We've only got 15 seconds.
I know.
They are all advertised, or most of these events, on the GSX, Green Shropshire Exchange.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's very helpful.